Of business is approval of our minutes. If committee members have a chance to review, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. First item up is old business. Authorization to enter into a master services agreement with Jacobs Engineering for advanced metering infrastructure AMI project, task order directive number 1. The total is $99,850. Welcome, Ron.
Yes, sir. We are again asking for your consideration for this, to enter into this agreement. As requested last week, you guys wanted Jacobs Engineering to come to give you a little background on them.
Sure.
This is Ms. Alex speaking with Jacobs Engineering.
Welcome.
Here's a little presentation for you guys. So I'm going to step back.
Okay.
Have it, and I'll answer any questions.
Perfect. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I'm here to kind of talk about Jacobs' qualifications to do this AMI project, but also some of the benefits you can get from AMI, so y'all are aware. And then also kind of like what this specific task order is going to cover, just this specific task order. So Jacobs has been serving the Alabama water market since 1972, and specifically the city of Tuscaloosa since 1985. For this project, we're going to be marrying our local resources that know the area, know the city, with our global expertise of AMI. Our AMI team, as you can see from that map, has over 75 AMI projects globally. They've installed over 8.7 million water meters. Some of the specific ones I pulled from this, Montgomery, Alabama is one where we did a plan and implementation. It has 90,000 meters. Tuscaloosa County, Florida has 35,000 meters, and Asheville, North Carolina is similarly sized to Tuscaloosa with about 60,000 meters. Our global team that is going to be working on this specific project is going to be led by Joe Ball. He's our global director of smart metering. He has over 20 years of AMI experience, and you can see some of the projects he's worked on. Josh Brahman is our global implementation lead. He will help with not only the plan, but the implementation once we get there. And he has over 10 years of AMI experience. And then Joyce Swinson has over 30 years of business strategy. She'll come in and do the assessment on the organizational data usage once everything's there. And then to kind of get to AMI and the benefits, AMI can offer short, medium, and long-term benefits. And you can see a lot of these on this graph. You can offer benefits from customer service side, but also operational management. Now, these are only going to be achieved if this is what the city has as a goal for their program. So part of this planning is figuring out what you want out of your program, where you are, and what you want to achieve. So based on what we know from the city of Tuscaloosa and their AMI program, these are some of the improvements we expect to get. You're going to get improved meter registration. What you've got out there, some of them are deteriorated with use and age. They're not going to get accurate meter readings. If we go in there and deploy static meters, you're going to register lower flows. Your accuracy is not going to deteriorate like it is right now. You're also going to get detailed hourly consumption data. That's going to help you with better for investigations and efficiencies. You're going to know when there's a leak in your system. You're also not going to be adjusting your customers' bills like you are. You're not going to have your maintenance, your vehicle costs are going to go down. You're not going to be rolling out trucks all the time for meter readings. You're going to roll out one truck for maintenance, for connecting and disconnecting, and if someone requests a reread. In addition to those ones I talked about, this kind of covers that graph as well. These are ones you can get, but it really depends on what the city wants. And that's what this planning phase is for. So when Jacobs enters into an AMI project, we usually start from the ground floor. We're usually following this roadmap. We're starting with a strategy. We're going to procurement, and we're going to help you with implementation. Now, the city of Tuscaloosa is kind of at varying stages right now across this. So we're going to get in, we're going to assess where you are, we're going to see what your existing deployments look like, and we're going to talk about your overall end goals like I talked about. And then we're going to help create a path forward using this to get you where you want to complete this. And all during this, we're gonna help you with internal communications within the city, but also external communications with your client or your customer. And that gets me to kind of this specific task order directive. So with this, we're gonna give you an AMI project implementation plan. That's gonna include your anticipated cost and schedule. It's gonna include what we recommend for your updated scope with your current provider, United Systems. And then it's also gonna have key areas of project deployment. And then, like I mentioned, we're gonna have an internal communication plan that can be sent out within the city, so everyone knows what page you're on, everyone knows what's going on. And we kind of propose this scope to Tuscaloosa, given where you are with this project. Jacobs will work with you to determine the best path forward for this AMI project specific. Our objective is to work with you to plan and execute a comprehensive AMI program that will enable Tuscaloosa to leverage the AMI system, but also realize the benefits of this technology. And that's all I had.
What is the anticipated time frame for this plan, if you're given the green light in the next several weeks?
So what we had in our scope is 5 to 6 months, and a lot of that accounts for holiday time as well. And then once we get that, we can work on getting an updated scope with USS and move forward.
Ron, was Jacobs involved in the initial inception of all this 3 or 4 years ago? Was that plan, who came up with the plan for that? Was it staff? Was it internal? One of the things that was mentioned multiple times was we want to do what our expectations are. I mean, what are we telling Jacobs that our expectation is? I mean, what are we asking them 100% to do? Make sure I understand that.
We're asking them to come up with an implementation plan, telling them this is the best way to implement the remainder of our AMI system. Staging, funding, we're asking them to provide us with the information to give you guys recommendations on how to complete this AMI process.
And I think that the only comment that I hope that and this not just goes for our committee, I think this is the council, and I think the mayor is on board with this too. I think that whatever we decide to do, and when that plan comes back to us, if we implement it and adopt it as a council and the mayor and everybody, we all need to fund this, figure out a way that we have that roadmap, and it's a priority for us to get this done over the next several years. Because I know we can't begin to do this in 1 year, but I think that's something that's on the council and on the mayor and administration to say, this is something we are committed to doing, and we're gonna figure out how to make this work. Because I think this has got to be done.
And I think at the end of this particular project or contract, you'll have that information. You will know what this will cost us. You will know how long it will take. You will know what the phases are. So you'll have a clear picture to decide whether you will move forward in that manner and at that point you know what's expected funding wise and staging wise and timing wise.
And one more question before I open up for committee members and other council people, please. This is something that you and Kimberly and the team, everybody is very comfortable with this. You're all 100% saying we've got to do this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I believe that.
Okay. Committee?
How did we arrive at that? Did we put out an RFQ or an RFP? Were there other bidders, or did we have a previous relationship? How did we get here with Jacobs?
Well, we have a previous relationship with Jacobs throughout our water system, but currently they're doing the distribution model with the Corps of Engineers right now, which also they have a vast knowledge of the different points in our system. They know where meters are, they know our different areas. They've worked with us and consulted with us on the water side for many, many years.
So did we do an RFQ?
No, sir, no, there was not an RFQ or anything like that on this one.
Why not?
because of the current knowledge that they have already working with our system, and then also because anybody new that would come in would have to, I mean, for the most part, would have to completely learn the distribution system, and they're already doing that with this other project. And then also, we did a little bit of research on some of the other engineers that are out there that have worked with AMI projects. And, you know, and Jacobs has, you know, they've worked globally on these particular projects throughout the country, but also globally for many years.
Thank you.
Their project managers actually worked with, Mr. Ball, Joe Ball, he's actually worked with USSR, not for them, but on other projects with them, so they're very familiar with each other and work as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We talked about the number of meters that we already have.
Yes, sir.
So by the time if the committee so chooses to go along and we get this company, what's gonna be the maintenance of those older ones that are perhaps already done, as well as we're implementing the new meters at the same time?
Which they'll come out with this in their scope, but it'll be a replacement plan for typically meters that are over 10 years old. We slate for replacement, and anything newer than that, you look at whether it's damaged or it's got reliable readings. So that'll be a part of the project. Any meters that we have that are newer than 10 years old and that have capability to transmit to AMI, they will have endpoints. Any of them that are damaged, older, or running out of warranty, even if they're not out of warranty yet. When we do this, we want to get to a point where we've got a few years left on warranty and everything we got in our system. We don't want to finish this
Right.
and our warranty be running out.
Because then we'll be paying
Yes, sir.
more revenue.
And typically, most meter companies and most AMI companies, the endpoint, which is that's the transmitter that transmits the radio signal to towers that we read. Most of those, all of them, it's either a 15 to 20-year warranty on them, and most meters are 15 to 20-year warranties. A lot of them are 20-year warranties with a 15-year full and a 5-year prorated the last 5 years. So that's why like I said, we're wanting to get a system that's at the end of this thing, hopefully less than 10 years old. Then that'll give us, because this is, once we get a system to a fully maintainable state and fully deployed, I mean, we're not finished. You have to continue to maintain the
Right.
system. So we'll have to continue to replace meters into the future and for maintenance purposes.
And for those persons who are just tuning in and listening to us, what would the personnel be like that's needed to manage this project?
The project or the?
Oh, the meters.
I'm not sure.
Well,
It'd be less like city staff in the
Yes.
future once
Yes.
this is deployed than what is
Yes.
currently needed.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just want to make sure. What we would have is, hopefully, the guys that are doing meter reading now will become meter maintenance. And it should take less people to do meter maintenance, because you should be hopefully maintaining 10% of your system at a time rather than reading 100% of your system.
gotcha.
You also have less trucks that are in operation with less people.
Okay.
You have less what?
Trucks.
Trucks?
Vehicles on the
A
road.
bit less vehicles, less fuel, more better carbon footprint, all those things are factored in. And that's some of the things they'll factor into their analysis.
Okay.
Kimberly, Ron, what's the funding source?
This is bond.
We have $3.5 million in bond, and then approximately $650,000 to $700,000 that we were able to transfer from operations to the capital to go into this, and that's what we have currently right now. And then we have another bond slated on the tentatively planned for 2024.
What other questions does the committee have? Do any other of my friends on the council have any questions about that?
I know we have a lot of meters that are 20 and 30 years old.
We do. I mean, we've got a large percentage of our meter system that is 20 years old. Older meters that are 30 years old and older than that were positive displacement meters, had moving parts in them like what you would have in a odometer of a car. Those typically don't stop working, they just lose efficiency over time. Now, all meter manufacturers now go, there are meters out there like that, but most meters out there now have a battery in them. A lot of them use magnetic, they read the ionization in the water coming through, and they do infrared. There's several different ways they read the meter. They don't have the moving parts, so they don't lose efficiency, but they do have batteries, which means they have a finite life cycle.
Well, I know my water meter is 23 years old, and most of them in our neighborhood in that area. So I guess all of those will be replaced.
Yes, sir.
So part of the plan is, we'll talk about how to roll out the AMI, and that'll be based on finding areas of where these meters are the oldest, and make those a priority, but then also, your routes on how you read it and billing cycles, and make sure this plan implements them so you're doing it the most efficient way.
Any other questions?
And speaking to your 20-year-old meter, there's not really a formula out there telling someone, there's nothing, EPA doesn't even tell you when you're supposed to replace a meter. It's kind of like, they kind of tongue-in-cheek recommend 10 years or so.
They sell more that way.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
That seems to work fine.
I wanted to know, is there any new data that the customers can tap into if they have the new meters? Because I think I've had some on Willow Lane, some new ones.
there will be, that's part of what we're doing right now with, which is actually not with Jacobs, this is with, USS, our current contractor. We're working through our customer portal. It's called Metra, is the analytics software they're using. We're working through the integration with it. Our USS and Tyler Technologies, who is Munis, which is our billing software, they're working through the interface on that right now.
Is there like a certain number of meters that we need to get to before that software is for everybody?
That's really up to council. I mean, once we get Metra up and running, and one of the reasons we went with Metra will accept meters that are not on AMI. It's going to read the data that's in our billing system. Which means every meter, you could actually go look at your usage into Metra. But the ones that aren't on AMI yet, you'll have one bill or one reading a month, where the meters that are on AMI, you would have hopefully 24 hours or 24 a day.
Okay.
But yeah, and it's something that council at some point will have to decide how we want to roll that out. Do we want to roll that out to everyone? Do we want to roll it out to the people that are on AMI? Do we want to charge our commercial customers? So that'll be something that will be your guys' decision at some point.
Any other questions? Is there any other information the committee would like to see before I call for a vote? I would entertain a motion to approve this as
So move.
Second.
moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 2, approval for a professional services contract with Davis Architects for design services for the Saban Center and Event Center. The total is $7,500,000. Welcome, Jonathan. And
Hi. So
Audrey,
we
you're
and
hired.
Audrey.
Sorry, I didn't
Hi.
Hey,
I am going to turn it over to Jonathan. He's worked very hard on these contracts, but we finally got here. So I'm going to let Jonathan take it.
good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. So as Audrey said, we've been working the last couple of months to get the design team assembled for the Saban Center, Discovery Center, and Event Center. And what we have is the architect team and their engineers. The exhibit designer will be doing all the exhibit design. We have a museum planner, and we also have a theater planner and acoustical consultant. That's all going to be rolled into one contract with Davis Architects. And the total of that contract with all of those firms involved, all the sub-consultants, as Audrey mentioned, is $7.5 million. And that work, if we can get approved today and at council next week. Our goal is to have the contract ready to go to send out and have that executed by the end of October. And then we would start pre-design in November and then progress from there throughout the rest of the schedule for design and construction. We've got 15 months in there for design phase, and then we have 18 months for construction, two more months for move-in, and then the following month would be a grand opening. Right now, the schedule's got that at April of 2026, based on getting that contract executed by October 31st of 2022.
Jonathan,
Yes, sir.
talk a little bit about where we are today based on what the council's approved, the due diligence that's happened. We're talking, this is specifically for the 20,000 square foot event space and the other spaces that we talked about. And if we decided as a council to increase that, which I think we all are very interested in that,
Yes, sir.
that would be another revision down the road, right? So this is just for the, as stated, the 20,000 square foot event space and
That's correct.
other space.
Yes, sir. This is the Saban Discovery Center. Right now, it's programmed at 74,600 square feet. And then the event center is 71,200
Both.
square feet. That gets us the 20,000 square foot ballroom floor for events. That is what we've talked about over the last few months, bringing to council until y'all make a decision if you want to increase it to the 30,000 square foot floor and what that program would entail. And I think we're gonna have some discussions and meetings in the coming weeks to discuss that. But right now, it is just a 20,000 square foot floor with a total of 71,200 on the event center and 74,600 for the Saban Discovery Center on this project right now.
What questions we have committee, and I'd like for council members to chime in too.
So Jonathan, balled up in that 7.5 million are those three subsets I think you just talked about that are outlined in your email.
Yes, sir.
That's it. And this is just to plan and design it. This is not to run it.
To build it, or, no, sir, this is,
So $1.5 million on exhibit design,
yes, sir.
$1 million on theater planning and acoustician,
Yes, sir. That's right.
and the museum planner, 135.
Yes, sir.
Jonathan, these two schedules, which, because it,
That
That
one's
one
for
is Mr. Benjamin Barr.
next, yes, sir, that's for the YMCA. That'll be coming up in a few.
I wish this was. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I love having this timeline, though. It's really great
Yes, sir.
to see it.
So on the caveat that you always tell me, assuming we have it adopted by October 31st.
Yeah, definitely.
But once we get the contract signed and delivered, then you'll have the best timeline.
Yeah. And we've got the contract drafted and ready to go as soon as we have the proper approvals. We've worked through some of the language and got that ready. So it shouldn't, if we do get approval today and then get approval next Tuesday night at full council, and we'll be prepared to send that out and get it signed as soon as possible.
And Jonathan, the vetting and selection process for Davis was, how many bidders did we have for that?
We had 8 or 12 architects.
We had 8 architects, we had 12 acousticians and theater planners.
8.
We had 8 exhibit
Exhibit
designers.
designers.
So we had a
It was 32 total.
good
Yes.
showing
Robust.
of
We had a
multiple bidders. on
Very
the-
robust selection.
And it was an RFQ process
Okay,
where we took qualifications and evaluated all 32 for all those services.
We had a full selection committee that was made up of city staff, CHOM, TCT, Saban representative, and we had multiple interviews, multiple days that we went through it. It was a long process.
It's just incredibly impressive. I thought they were, but I thought the number two spot was just as good
We had some very talented,
as far as the work they
very,
did.
very talented architects, yes.
It's amazing.
Matthew?
I'm thinking, Mr. Chair, of the possibilities that are endless for this project. Looking forward to seeing the outcomes of what this project is going to mean for District 1 and the city of Tuscaloosa. Also, I want to see the encapsulation of diversity and equity in all that we do to make this a One Tuscaloosa event, and make this a One Tuscaloosa project, excuse me, so that all of us can be proud of it. And those are my comments, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or comments by my friends on the council?
I just want to let everybody know I'm claiming this in my reelection speech, that I had parts in this.
It's yours, baby, it's
So,
yours.
no, like it's in District 1, but I had.
You sat here and listened. You sat here and listened.
Actually had the fans on, so let's get that vote rolling. I'm gonna need it.
Support from the beginning.
Feels good.
We'll take it.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries and is approved. Item number 3.
All right.
Advertisement for RFQ for geotechnical services, construction, material testing, and special inspections for the Savings Center and Tuscaloosa Event Center project. Jonathan?
Yes, sir.
You get to stay.
This will be one of the last few professional services that we need to procure. And what we would like to do is put out an RFQ for those services, and then have the qualifications from the firms respond to that, much as they have in the other services we've already procured. And with the committee's permission, we would go ahead and get that RFQ prepared and posted, and then receive those back with a plan to get the geotechnical engineer under contract around the first of the year, so that we can have them on standby as design progresses and we need them to start working on the site. And that'll be for the geotechnical work. That'll be during construction when we need earthwork and compaction testing, rebar and concrete, when foundations and things like that start. And then also when the building's going up, they'll be doing inspections on rebar, steel, any masonry, anything like that, throughout the duration of the project. So this will be a firm that'll be involved from start to finish of the project.
So just to make sure it doesn't slide down into what used to be the public lake?
That's what
Yes, sir.
That's what I was about to say.
Is that what geotechnical services?
Yes, sir. That's all about the dirt work. Yes, sir.
Jonathan, all of the payments for this come out of the design budget, correct? And one point we forgot to make, or I did, was we are within our budget.
We are.
On the thing the main contract we just voted for.
That's correct. It's under the
Also.
budget. Yes, sir.
It's good.
And this
It
one,
doesn't happen often.
yeah, this one here will also be based on the estimate I have, and then, so we're good at this point. The only time we'll need to get more for design services is if y'all decide to go to that 30,000 square foot event center floor, and that'll take the total size of that up and be additional design work there.
You gonna try to save us enough money to be able to afford to do that?
I'm gonna do my best.
Does it, Jonathan,
Good
does it
answer.
diminish in our negotiating position any to have already awarded the first portion? And just a question asked out of ignorance, not agenda, but, so, does it diminish our negotiating leverage to have awarded and already be hip deep into it, and then say, and now we want to expand it to this big?
That is a little bit of a concern, but I like my negotiating skills, so I think we'll be okay.
We'll see.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 4. Man, you get to stay up on the hot seat.
You're in the hot seat, man, yeah.
Authorization to negotiate scope and fee with Chambliss King Architects for professional services for the Benjamin Barnes YMCA project. Jonathan?
Yes, sir. So as you recall, a few weeks ago, Brian and I presented on the project and moving forward with it. Chambliss King, as we know, has done the visioning study. They completed that back in July. And so at this point, what we'd like to do to keep this project moving forward is to get permission from committee to start the negotiations on scope and fee with Chambliss King to do the design work for the Benjamin Barnes YMCA. That'll take us from the current point of having the visioning study completed and move us into the schematic design phase and get ready to build that one as well. We've got a schedule there on the handout in color there. Again, if we get approval this month in October, then we would start schematic design in November, run through schematic design, design development, and construction documents through the summer, and then toward the end of summer next year, go to bid and get construction started in the fall of next year and have that completed at the end of 2024, opening there in December of 2024, pending approval to move forward with that negotiation with Chambliss King.
So, same question, it's like, just push the same button. What was the selection process for Chambliss King? How did we arrive there?
The selection for them to do the visioning study predates my involvement.
That part is, that's water behind the boat.
Right.
They did the piece that came in and said, this is kind of a rough sketch of what it might look like, and we've assessed 5 sites, and this is what we recommend, right?
Right.
That's the visioning study.
Yes, sir.
Okay, to get from there to now negotiating scope and fee on the $10 million project or so, how did we get there?
Right.
Katie Beth, do you want to speak to that?
You beat me to it, mister.
Did I? Well, you could have it.
You
It's
got
just
it.
me repeating the same one
Go
I've
ahead.
asked on the other 2.
Go ahead.
So the selection process, because this is professional services, where the city's not required to competitively procure the services. And due to Chambliss King's extensive work in helping us choose a site and narrow that decision down for us, their relationships they had already established in that process with the YMCA staff and board members, with city staff. All of that knowledge that we had basically already paid for in the site selection process, we felt like would provide a lot of value moving forward with them.
They also, if I can say too, they also do a lot of this type of design with these types of facilities. And so they're pretty, pretty experienced in designing athletic facilities and gyms, gymnasiums, and all the types of facilities we're going to have here at this BBYMCA. So I think that too is probably why they were selected to do the visioning study, just because of their extensive experience in these types of facilities around the state. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I've been, as soon as this was put back on the agenda, I went back to the visioning study and looking at the floor plan is a total of 23,000 square feet, 23 and some change.
Yes, sir.
What is that for floor plan in comparison to the current site's plan?
I don't have the existing YMCA square footage and program. The one thing that we want to do when we move into schematic design, and that's what we've talked about, I've talked with John Chambliss about already, is getting in there to do an assessment and sort of vet what they have now with what he's shown on this visioning study, to make sure that what they're moving from now, they're gonna have those same amenities at this new one, as well as the existing facility that's over there.
Agreed. But because, and people know that I was that one of the no votes to that move, but said that I would support what we do. And seeing that in March of 2022, the community was gung-ho that, that we would get a 45,000 square feet. 45,000 square foot building.
That was 45,000.
City leaders in support of McDonald Hughes as the new site argued the option would be to provide the largest footprint, 45,000 square feet, in addition to the city being able to make the most of its $10 million. So, I want to be able to go back to my community and advocate that, we're doing what's best for the bang of what we're getting. And so that's why I asked about this concept, making sure that we get the bang for our buck of where we're moving it to.
Right, and that square footage is a function of the cost. And obviously with costs having increased the way they have in the past 2 years, I think the 45,000 square feet, I know the 45,000 square feet that was mentioned at the beginning of the year was overly ambitious. And that was done probably without the best and latest
Looking at the
cost
financials,
information.
right.
Yes, sir. But once we got involved and started looking at the cost and the budgets and everything,
Right. It all
I'll take the
changed.
blame for why the square footage has come down, because we just don't have the budget to get a 45,000 square foot facility over there. And
Exactly.
this 23,896 is what right now we can cover with the budget.
Oh, I'm with you exactly with those numbers.
And I would just like to add, I think the visioning work that Chambliss King did in
Yeah.
arriving at that 45 was a bit more of a dreaming exercise and a long-term, if we could have it all type of plan. And so, as Jonathan said, as we actually worked through the numbers and penciled in, rough, real estimates for budget, the square footage had to come down.
Do you remember what the square footage of the current facility is?
That's what I asked.
I actually don't have that information, but I can get that for you.
So these are the numbers. Those are the numbers.
What other questions do we have for Mr. Grammer?
I think it's two, just so that, the council realizes even a better picture that's coming with this.
Yeah.
Because our goal is, one, the collaboration with, McDonald Hughes Center. Two is that we have a phase 2 scheduled on McDonald Hughes, beginning, I wanna say, Ms. Howard, this is off the top of my head, in 25. So the improvements that we make here, the goal is then to layer on to that current site. We're extremely excited about that. One of the things too, I mentioned to Jonathan, is that we look at a couple of alternates in the bid package when we do go. That possibly, just depending upon what happens, and no one, to follow up on our discussion we had yesterday, we just don't know what the market's going to look like a year from now.
July 23.
So we may want to look at some bid alternates, if we can get some good pricing.
Yep.
Out there, the world's changed in the last 7 to 8 months, so I do think with both the phase 2 and hopefully some pricing alternates, we can continue to make a very key investment.
And if you look at the site plan, Mr. Wilson,
Yes, sir.
on that, you'll see we do have shown a future expansion area
I do.
for the YMCA facility.
Let's even add turf, and I think we spoke about the turf field eventually. Once we get the facility up, we probably can come back and add a turf field for future expansions, things like that.
That's right. New parking, updating the existing parking, new parking, so full site upgrades there in front of both facilities.
What other questions do we have?
I don't have a question, but I really do like Chambliss King. I was able to meet with them extensively about the tennis
Yes, sir.
stadium, and their work is very creative, just really, really nice work they do. And we're dealing with the same thing with the tennis. We're having to look at things that we thought we could do that maybe we can't because the money's not gonna go that far.
Right.
So That's a reality that we're all gonna have to face.
That the money won't go
Yeah,
that far.
that's right.
And the real deal is get the show on the road. Let's just say what, call it what it is. Let's get the show on the road so we can start.
You're right.
Something which you
Exactly
can
right.
find every 6 months or 3 months or so, maybe updating the public projects committee on pricing.
Sure.
I know Volker takes it's one of the strengths that you bring, because I think that's something we're all gonna wanna continue to keep, especially on, this vertical construction that's
Yes,
out
sir.
there we're looking at.
Yes, sir, we'll do that.
Do you still on the saving and event centers, is 45 still the current estimate that we have in place on that?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Right now on the Benjamin Barnes, 8?
8 million construction, yes, sir.
So I'd like to make a comment that even though professional services are not required to be bid, if we find ourselves in that situation, if y'all would telegraph that to us in the early stages, I would appreciate it, because this is a big professional services contract. And
Yeah.
we all have professional people in our districts who do these kind of things, who want to know from us, why didn't we get a chance to bid on it? So I'm gonna vote for it in just a minute, but in the future, I would appreciate a heads up, this is coming and we don't plan to bid it.
Yes, sir.
And Counselor Busby, I appreciate that point, and we will take that under consideration. The point of really coming today, this isn't more of an informational agenda item. If you guys are not in favor of moving forward with this route, we'll be happy to put out the RFQ and do this
Well,
competitively.
it says authorization to negotiate, so it's not for discussion, it's for authorization.
To begin a conversation, to begin negotiating the actual fee and the services that will be provided. We have not told Chambliss King that we're coming to them to begin these negotiations, and so, they may be hoping that they'll get the work since they did the site visioning and site selection work. But the city is not obligated to continue down this path with them, that we can ask them
I
to
know we're not
respond.
obligated, and I'm glad you didn't get up to say, Councilman Budbig, we did tell you, you just forgot.
No.
That's always a possibility too.
I remember it.
You got a memo on phone.
And
Maybe.
Katie Beth, to that point, and I said something to Jonathan the other day, I understand that when we're doing some specialized things, like some of the stuff we're doing, it requires maybe something outside of Tuscaloosa, at least we would consider that, but I really hope that we continue to look really hard at hiring local firms. And as we head into this construction and everything, I hope that our local firms are competitive and they're given an
bid.
opportunity to bid, and I guess everyone will, but it concerns me a little bit of the trend that I'm seeing of it doesn't seem like some of our local firms are at the table with this, and that's just my opinion.
We have,
But that's,
if it comes up for a vote in a minute, I'm gonna vote for it. Because this has been an excruciating, long, fragile process. And it's too late in the day to not do it. But just in the future, just a heads up, just want you to know this is coming down the road and this is how we think we wanna handle it.
Understood.
I
Yes,
I
sir.
think what we would, let me just volley the ball back across the net and say that what I think we would like from the council is guidance of, do you want to begin this on everything that we do? Probably, and this number is artificial, but I would think 80 to 90% of our engineering professional services are not RFP or RFQ process. City engineer makes a recommendation on a firm, they marry the services they specialize in with the particular need of the city at that time, and then they begin that process here. In terms of architects, we don't, until really the last couple of years, we've never had so many moving at one time. Maybe Sands right after the tornado. in those that we did not anticipate federal funding or RFQ process, again, the thought was, let's marry a particular need, also past history of performance, bandwidth of that particular firm to handle a project to be delivered on time. And if you, when I say you being the council, if you would like us to do an RFP process on every single one of these, we will do that. But we need to know, if that's what you want, then we will do it, we will provide you scores, and it will come right back to this point. The reason why Chambliss King was selected was that there's no secret there were some issues with the McDonald-Hughes Center. We went out and decided if we're gonna build a first-class performance area for our young people in West Tuscaloosa, we wanted to hire a firm who had the most recent successful experience. Chambliss King came quickly to our line of sight. We went out and visited Albertville, where they had just completed roughly about $100 million, very successful activity park center. And we thought, that's something that they can come in, provide, mirror, and that's why they were appointed, or not appointed, was recommended and adopted by the council, and why we decided to select them.
I don't know, Mr. Mayor, that I would say we need an RFQ for everything, but I
That's
echo.
that's not what I was asking
Or
for. I
me
was
either.
asking
I mean,
for a heads up if we're not.
But I do believe that and I'm hearing as a consensus builder, that we do want to consider local professionals within our city to be considered, highly considered.
If,
Yes, sir.
If historically having the local professionals have been fed, if I'm going through agenda, we patronize our local professionals, engineers. If I'm being correct, right? A ton of them.
Some of them.
Some of them.
Well, I mean,
I think it, certainly, I can tell you as mayor of Tuscaloosa and someone who's ultimately affirmed by the voters of this city, it is in absolutely, my own best interest to recommend local people for local jobs. But the oath I swear doesn't tell me to recommend people who will be better for my political outcome. It tells me to recommend those that we think will deliver the best product for the taxpayers of Tuscaloosa. We want to go local every time, but just because an architect or an engineer comes to you and says, we could have done that project, doesn't necessarily mean they could have really done that project. Maybe they could have done that project or not have the bandwidth to do the project.
But isn't
I'm
that
not
what
disagreeing with you, but I would say, Walt, that without relitigating the past on this particular project, I think that Chambliss King proved themselves, and if staff wants to use them, I don't have a problem necessarily personally with that. There are going to be instances where that particular competence or experience, I think we're dealing with the same issue, that same issue with Savings Center.
Yeah.
That is a huge contract that we want to hire the best. I would say we always want to hire the best, but I think, I'm not going to speak for Mr. Busby, but from my perspective, we need to hire who the best people are for these jobs. I just want to make sure, and my concern is that local professional people have a shot at more of these things. And that doesn't mean an RFQ, that doesn't mean anything, but I think in this particular case, they've proven themselves as the one. I'm not gonna argue with that. I was just making the point that we need to be sensitive about that, because I don't view that as, that's not politics to me, that's just people that are businesses in Tuscaloosa.
I echo and feel, I think you and I are likely closer on the same page than we probably think. I think one of the advantages you have with ultimately the administration recommending it is that you don't have to get deeply involved. And we've been, you know, and I'm willing to do that because I do have these meetings with architects and engineers all the time. And when someone doesn't get a project, I've always sat down with them and said, this is why you didn't get the recommendation. And most of the time, I think if you pulled the contracts, you would see, as Mr. Lanier alluded to, it's predominantly local, whether it's engineers or architects, and you pull contract numbers, amounts given, et cetera. Now, Savings Center will slant some of that, no doubt, the depth and scope. What I'm asking though for y'all, from you, because this is step one, this is where we come to you, this is the process. But if you want a different process, I'm all in. And you tell me how you want it done, and we will do it, because what will happen is 3 months from now, we will come back and you'll say, well, what, are we not getting enough local people? Tell it. I'm not saying that, look, I hope you don't know this, this is not me being adversarial, I'm just saying, let's figure out that process, and that way, you're in there from the beginning, and you see what we see.
As a group, we probably need to have that discussion, I mean, as a committee, you know, what we want to see. But I've already kind of said, I mean, I like the conversations that we've been having lately, we've been having more meetings, but the expectation for me on this, as committee chairman, is if someone brings something to us, expect 3 weeks. I think if it's something that needs to be voted sooner than that, if it's something that doesn't make sense, I might not put it on the agenda if it's a controversial thing or something we want more information. And that's been a great couple of weeks because that's kind of the way we've been doing it. Or if someone on here that's not on the committee has a problem with something they see on that, I'd love for them to tell me that, because I believe it's all 7 of us, not just me leading this committee. But I think it's the expectation when I first got here, that, and part of that is you're new to the job, Walt, is when this stuff is brought to us, we need to vote on it. Well, then if we don't vote on it, then staff and everybody goes crazy and says, oh my gosh, we've got to have this by Friday, or we got to do this by the next Tuesday. I think that is, we're changing that. And I think that's the way it should be. I mean, that's my expectation I want to set with y'all. If you bring something to us today, it could take a couple of weeks. We did our due diligence on this meter stuff because a lot of this happened before any of us were even thought about being on the council, right? I mean, when all this started, and this decision, I didn't take lightly, and none of the rest of us did, about doing that. I just think we need to be sensitive about local, but I think the more discussion we have, the better decision we're always going to make as a group, and we'll have all the information, because a lot of times I have to sit and think about it, Walt, or I need to sit and think, say, well, okay, what are some issues that are here that we're not thinking about if we try to vote on this today? That's where I'm at. I don't know what y'all think.
Well,
Husband or
mine's
John?
simple. I'm not altering the process. I'm just asking for a heads up.
I just have a question, if I could. Does an RFQ slow the process?
Yes, sir, it adds several months
Oh, does it?
to the process of getting them
Okay,
selected,
well,
yes.
I just feel strongly about a sense of fairness. I don't want to see company A get an inordinate amount of the contracts because they always have. And I can't help but think there's a number of companies out here that are capable. I mean, you said when they put the RFQs, at any rate, I understand about the timeline. I understand that real well, but I hope we're extremely fair in how we divvy these contracts out, because it's a lot of money being made out there, and I just want it to be fair, Mr. Chairman.
You're dead on. And one other thing, Walt, if there are issues on past things, or there's an issue with a particular firm, whether they're local or whether they're from wherever, I hope that we are communicating that to them. We tell them this is what you're doing wrong, and we allow them to fix that, or we allow them, to understand we're not going to do business with you until you handle these issues. I wonder sometimes if that's been communicated with contractors sometimes. I mean, I know I don't believe everything everybody tells me, but I believe if you've got a problem with somebody, I believe you need to tell them what that problem is, or you failed us here on this project, here's the problem, and give them a chance to fix it, or that is going to probably affect business, because we need to be choosing the best people to do every job. I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
And I think to get back to the point that what I want to do, working with all of you, is I need some help in understanding how you want us to shape and form this and bring it to you. Because I don't ever want you to be, have questions or lingering doubts. That's where I'm going with it.
But I think we saw that we don't have to change the process. If it makes sense to do an RFQ or you have to, Katie Beth, I mean, we're gonna do one, right? But if we don't, you bring a recommendation to us with the understanding we're gonna get the recommendation and then we're gonna vet it and have those discussions. But if you need something by the what's today, the 11th? If you need something by the 18th of October, don't come here on the 11th and expect, it could happen, right? But expect that we're gonna vote on the 11th. I mean, it may be that way today. I mean, but you look at several items that are on here, one of them's been on here for 4 weeks. That could happen, I guess, if committee members wanna do that, but I just think I don't think the process is necessarily bad, Walt, right now.
Just, if there's anything that y'all would like changed or recalibrated, we're certainly open to that, because we want to give you all the assurances in the world. And I really do believe, and what I'll do is it seems like it was the prior council. About once a year, they wanted the amount of contracts we provided engineering firms a year, and the amount of contracts we provide architectural firms. I think let's update that for y'all. That's always just a good tool to have. And again, let me just say, we want to do our local people. One of the challenges we've had in the past year is a couple of our local firms, one of our architecture firms has been so busy, so successful, and we've had so many things. That's a great challenge to have, and hopefully they'll continue to expand and we can continue to use them.
Could we also see that for Tuscaloosa Bills?
We can see Tuscaloosa
think that'd
bills,
be good too.
we would, any type of that data that you want from us, we would love to provide it. I think sometimes we need to probably do a better job of being in y'all's feedback loop too. Because again, I know none of our team members want to walk to that podium and feel like they disappointed the council. And I don't ever want to walk in here and feel like I disappointed you. And so I want to make certain we're delivering what we need to deliver to give you assurances you're getting the best information.
Fair enough, that's a good point. Any other comments from council people?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, while
Committee members.
we're on that, on that swingo scope of work, when we talk about local firms and all of us have talked to local business owners and construction managers and contractors. I've talked to a few myself, and their concern is, and some of these are minority contractors, that it is hard to get contracts within the city of Tuscaloosa. And when we look at local work, we want the best and the brightest. We want to also be equitable in our practices.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I gotta say on that.
Any other
I
comments?
do have one other comment, because we're at almost a new beginning in this city too, as I think that Norman and I met about the Savings Center and saw the presentations, and I think you'll see sometimes we're doing things now that we've never done before. I mean, things we probably didn't imagine we would do, and there's some things that you just can't, that the advantages are outside the city. And, there's, as we saw.
Sure.
One who was Davis, for example, and what was the second one?
Steinberg Hart and Cambridge 7,
Cambridge
Theater
7.
Projects and Lord.
I mean, those, what they have done is just amazing work.
Yes, sir.
That, unfortunately, there's just not, we just don't have that here. So that's exceptions, that because we've never done anything like the Savings Center before.
Right.
But I think we all want to be
Have
sensible.
something else?
Yes, sir.
No, having stirred the tempest in the teapot, I was
Good.
going to offer to make a motion to authorize
Motion.
the negotiation of scope and
Moved
fee.
and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank y'all.
Item number 5 is approval of joint funding agreement between City of Tuscaloosa and University of Alabama for campus area water distribution system improvements project. The total is $1.37 million. Welcome, Josh.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, this is recommending the approval for the joint funding agreement between the University of Alabama and the City of Tuscaloosa for reimbursements of work done on the UA campus for $1,373,300.19.
So moved.
Second.
Can I ask a question?
Any other discussion? Moving second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah, what's the second that
It
he
is
gives?
approved. And
You
Josh,
have a question?
thanks for making the point too. We are being reimbursed.
That was the question.
Yeah, but we're being reimbursed by the University of Alabama for work completed, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That was my question.
Item number 6, approval of balancing change order to the B.W. Hobson contract for the Woodland Forest Gabion Wall Repair Project, a deducted total $38,380.75, time extension of 4 calendar days. Josh?
Yeah, that's correct. This is the Gabion Wall repair project. It was, this is for the BW Hobson's construction contract. There's some of the before construction pictures for a deductible amount of $38,380.75.
4 calendar days in a lot of time. That's good. So it's almost not far from being done, is it?
Yeah.
That's good. Questions for Josh? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved and seconded here. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item is approved. Thank you, Josh. Item number 7 is approval of amendment number 1 to the engineering contract with TTL for Sokol Park North. The new parking lots and Watermelon Road improvement projects total $233,500. Welcome, Calvin.
Good afternoon. Yes, OC is requesting approval for amendment to contract number 1 with the engineering services of TTL for phase 2 of the Sokol North project. This would be an additive amount of $233,500. And within this scope is the resurfacing and restriping of 2 existing parking lots, the construction of a brand new parking lot, sidewalk connectivity within the park, storm drain detention system, and parking lot lighting. Within this amendment will be engineering services, design, and bid services throughout the project, and this will be funded by Elevate.
Questions by the committee? It's a needed project, I know that. Any questions?
Well, number 7.
Yes, sir.
The, Calvin, the total is the 233.5, or that's the amended amount?
That's the amended amount. The contract will go from $320,100 up to $533,600.
Did I miss the line?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, this will be for the phase 2 of the project.
Yeah, that's phase 2.
Back in the game.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Calvin.
Thank you all.
Item number 8, approval of change order number 4 with John Plott Company for Lift Station 21 equalization tank and pump upgrades. Project total is $28,219.51 and an additional 231 calendar days. Kimberly, welcome back.
Thank you. This is, again, is for change order number 4 for this, at Lift Station 21 for the EQ tank, and lift station upgrades. And this is, the cost increase is due to, having to order specific spool pieces that we couldn't, order until we were able to field measure and uncover. So that's what the additional cost is for. And then also an additional 231 calendar days due to still waiting on electrical equipment and things like that.
Right? You can't get it here.
And this is within budget and it's SRF funded.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kimberly. Number 9 is approval of change order number 1 to the construction contract with Compass Civil Construction for the Enterprise Avenue Northeast Storm Drain Repair Project. Total of $35,267. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, sir. This is the balancing change order for this neighborhood drainage project. And this is an increase to the original contract of $151,415 to 186,712. Again, the balancing change order with some overages of stone, curb, asphalt, those things of that nature. And
Is
it
that
is
our
funded
portion?
through neighborhood drain.
I was about to say, is that our portion, because is the
There's
golf
a,
course owner paying any of that
this,
overage or
this
no?
is the total amount. Our portion of this will be the 63% split with the golf.
That's fine. Any questions? Would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mike. Item number 10 is authorization to renew agreement with the Chamber of Commerce of West Alabama for professional services for economic development, total not to exceed $175,000. Hello, Eric.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon.
So this is the annual chamber contract renewal, $175,000. This is the exact same as last year. It was in our budget.
How does that benefit the city?
Parker, would you like to speak to the contract at all? This is, I'm sure everybody knows Barkley, but this is Barkley Garrett. He's the VP of Economic Development for the chamber.
And I'm not opposed to it, I just wanna know exactly what that $175,000 goes to.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First of all, thank you very much for your previous partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. We couldn't do many of the activities that we do without you. So we're in the 4.5 years into a 5-year strategic plan. And as many of you know, we're rolling out the all-in strategic plan. This is our 5-year strategic plan for 2023 to 2027. And in that, it includes all the activities that the Chamber of Commerce does. So many, many years ago, when I started in economic development, it was a lot of smokestack chasing. And economic development was all in one silo. And now economic development bleeds into workforce development, which bleeds into community development. So all of those activities are intertwined. So the activities that we're doing on the behalf of the city include the activities working with Eric and his crew on the economic development side, on the recruitment of new retail activities, as well as knowledge-based jobs. It also involves the work that West Alabama Works does on the workforce development side. It also includes the community development activities that we do.
So Barkley, you lost me there. The 5-year strategic plan,
Yes, sir.
is that the cities or the Chamber? of
No, this is
Commerce?
the Chamber of Commerce. Previously.
That's not related to this, I mean,
No, I was just mentioning that the activities that we're doing on behalf of the city of Tuscaloosa are encompassed in our 5-year strategic plan.
all the activities you're doing on behalf of the city
Are
for this
encompassed.
$175,000 are encompassed in the 5-year.
Correct.
I guess it goes back my time and when I opposed this for a couple of years, because it was set up originally to especially help Alberta and the areas, and Rosedale and all the areas that were severely damaged by the tornado.
Sure.
And to help in those areas. And so I would like to see, I don't have a vote in this, but I would like to see, as far as economic recruitment, even by districts, or about what you feel like that this $175,000 has gone toward. Not studies or not 5-year plans, but actually
Data.
brick and mortar.
Can I, as a committee member, Barkley, what I'd like to do and what I'm gonna propose is a minute, let's table for a week. This is a horrendous schedule today, both projects and finance, when we're just not getting out of here. But let's put y'all on the agenda next week and come in and give us the brief. Here's what we do, here's the results we produce, here's where it's focused, and we'll make time to do it, and we'll get to hear it in full.
Sure.
So I will make a motion to table for 1 week.
Second.
Moving second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to table for 1 week.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes,
pass
sir.
out some of these?
Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I didn't see Kay here.
Somebody doing 4K?
I'm here for
You here for Kay?
I'm here for Kit.
All right.
Kay's not feeling
You
well
don't,
today.
you don't look as good.
Well, that's true. And you've already seen me once today, so it's not any better, believe me.
This is, we are asking Mr. Bobbitt to present to us authorization for Director of Arts and Entertainment to execute agreements and related documents for Tech or Treat 2022. Mr. Bobbitt,
Couldn't have said
welcome.
it better myself, Mr. Chairman. That's exactly what
Welcome.
it is. This is for the Tech or Treat to be
I
held
vote
from
yes.
October 25th, 2022, from 6 to 8. I think that Councilman Tyner already mentioned that.
Councilman Tyner has a tendency to vote on committees he's not members of.
I was about to say it. It's never stopped you before.
I can't remember.
This allows families to go from table to table, collect candy, and children are introduced to science, technology, engineering, math opportunities by interacting with city departments, community organizations. It is open to everyone. And funding is from the Gateway event expenses.
In other words, it's already in the budget.
It's already in the budget.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? You want to vote?
No, sir.
Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item is approved. Item number 12, Habitat for Humanity Operation Transformation Discussion. Welcome, Ms. Potts.
Thank you very much for having me. So I would like to talk today about Operation Transformation, which is something that I've been in front of you before speaking about, but I want to give you a little bit more detail, and then we have an ask for some funding, please. So just so you get some history, here is the number of projects that Habitat for Humanity of Tuscaloosa has done since we were founded in 1987. That's a total of 441 projects in the city of Tuscaloosa. We have done 551 projects total. Of those projects, most of those are repairs. We've done a lot of repairs. We've done a lot of new homes. You see District 1, we've done more projects in that district than any. The second is in Mr. Tyner's district, and then Ms. Howard Williams' districts, and the rest of them kind of round out the group. We serve people who are primarily in the 80th percentile of area median income and below. So some of the districts get less of our attention than others just because the income levels are different. So Operation Transformation, with the help of this of the city, last year we purchased 40 lots that were for $200,000. We raised $100,000. The council gave us $100,000 to match that. We got another couple of lots in addition to that, and that we purchased. We had a community meeting that Ms. Howard Williams was a part of on September the 12th of this year, and we were able to address some concerns that were brought to us. One of those was about security and the neighborhood and crime in the neighborhood. So in those new homes moving forward, we said that we would put a Ring doorbell camera on every single front door so that people could see what was going on. If something was stolen, if something was going on in the neighborhood, that would provide additional security. And I know that, that can be used by the police department or other agencies. We have partnered with the Tuscaloosa Career and Technology Academy. Their carpentry students have helped build 6 of the 8 homes that we've built since we began Operation Transformation, and the TCTA electrical students by the end of this semester will have fully wired 3 homes. So what we're asking for, there is a total infrastructure cost of So of these lots, of these 42 lots, we knew 26 of them did not have infrastructure, and that we would need infrastructure for those. That cost, and I've previously distributed that a couple of times, that cost was estimated in line item estimates by TTL at $1.4 million. We discovered that some of the Elm and Ash Street lots that we thought had infrastructure because they were infill lots, but they didn't have sewer, and so we're spending another $100,000 ourselves already to help to put infrastructure, to put sewer in those into those lots. So our ask of the city of Tuscaloosa is $500,000. Basically, the total cost would be $1.5 million for all we need for these properties. We're asking Tuscaloosa County for that amount, and then Habitat Tuscaloosa is ready to put up that amount also. I can say that I have been speaking with Judge Robertson and about this over about the last over a year, and especially in the last 6 months. I have a meeting again with him tomorrow, and and I can say that it was favorably received. I can't, but he doesn't have a vote. I get that. So I hope that this will be something that the county will help us fund. They have helped us fund Operation Transformation before. They've already given us money toward this because of our job training program. And so I'm hoping that they will favorably receive this request.
Ellen, when do you think they're going to give you an answer, like a definitive answer?
I hope it will be soon. What we're asking from them is basically ARPA funds. I believe it's federal funding. And so it will not be from their general budget that would have been just now approved. But they have a good bit of ARPA funds, I believe it is. And that's what we're asking for this money.
And because it's infrastructure, it will qualify.
I believe so, yes. I've been told that it would. So I want you to note, let me see, I don't have okay. I want you to note that where these lots are, this is close to accurate. It's not, there are a few that are on there and there's one that shouldn't be. But you see that all of these properties are located basically, most of them, except those in the very top left-hand corner, are within easy walking distance, basically across the street or within a couple of blocks of TCTA. One of the barriers to this program elsewhere is the transportation barrier. We all know that the city schools and the county schools, everybody is having trouble finding bus drivers. We don't need any bus drivers. You just walk across the street. We've also gotten one of our construction supervisors, and soon to be all of our construction supervisors, approved as a level 3 volunteer for the city schools, so that even if the actual instructor can't stay with those carpentry students, we have our construction staff, at least one member now and more in the future, certified as nearly like an unpaid substitute teacher, so that those young people can stay on that build site. We have, as I said, we've built 8 of these houses. You'll notice that the McDonald Hughes Center is right there, and much of what you're doing in the Benjamin Barnes branch is it's right there across the street. This is near the MLK Elementary, the new elementary school, and then also very close to the Fred Shelton State campus. I also know that I believe that there's going to be some renovations also done to Colton Park, perhaps. I wanted to go through, I'm on page 8 of the framework executive summary, and y'all don't have to look it up, but I'll be happy to read aloud. So just how does this program and what we're trying to do, how does it align with the broader objectives of the city? I believe that we would all agree that affordable housing there's a desperate need for affordable housing in our community. There is a desperate need for people who are in the construction trades, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, HVAC people in our community. But some of the things that Framework has said is that, facilitate development in West Tuscaloosa, encourage infill development and redevelopment of strategic locations. If you go on down and you talk about the living, it says protect existing neighborhood character and support appropriate new development, stabilize and revitalize neighborhoods, promote housing diversity and affordability, address the needs of lower income households, and create neighborhoods that serve the community needs, especially in the living section. I think we hit all of the bullet points. And in many of the growth objectives. What we do is we provide home ownership. And I can tell you that there are 2 Habitat homes next door to each other in Alberta. One was recently sold at market. This Habitat homeowner previously had bought the home at $90,000. And the home, we actually foreclosed on that one, and it was sold by the person who did some cosmetic remodeling for $182,500. So our other homeowner, who is next door to that, has paid off a third of her mortgage. It's been 10 years since she purchased her house, and she has $120,000 worth of equity as a single mom, you know, who at the point when she became a homeowner only had a high school education. So that's the kind of investment that we provide in our community. I handed out previously the economic impact study back from 2019 that we provided more than $2.7 million worth of economic impact in our community. I wanted to just give you a little bit more information. This is the design of the 26 lot. We may end up with 25 lots because of the need for a detention pond. But this is the design. The City Council approved this back in July. And these are the lots that we are requesting the $500,000 for infrastructure. Here is what one of those homes looks like. And, you know, I think that one of the comments we had in our community meeting, there was a police officer who lived on Cherry Street, which is just adjacent to this. Cherry Street runs through the middle of this development. And he said he was very excited because basically Habitat moves in, the neighborhood stabilizes. And so the police officer was very happy. I also wanted to tell you just our dreams, some thoughts about the future and why this matters. So recently, 5 leaders and educators from the Tuscaloosa City Schools, this was the 28th through the 30th of September, Donnie Jones from the West Alabama Chamber, Brock Corder from the Builders Group, and 3 of us from Habitat for Humanity went to Greeley, Colorado to look at some of the things that they are doing. They are doing their job training program instead of with a technical school. They began this with their alternative school. And so we wanted to see what they were doing and how we could implement that in our community. They have had, and this is their 7th year, over 600 students participate. When they started, these students had an average GPA of 0.8, and now they have a 100% graduation rate among that population if they stay in the program for 1 year, if they take 2 courses. And so, and 87% of these folks are employed in the construction industry. So we want to duplicate those kinds of things, or at least as much as we can in our schools. And we had Dr. Morgan from the alternative school, the Stars Academy from Tuscaloosa City Schools, attend this with us so that we could see, you know, how we could do that in this community. They also have done mixed income developments. They've done a 95-unit Mission Springs with 27 Habitat homes of those 95 units, some rental, some owned. And then they're about to do a 300-unit development that has 174 Habitat homes. And that will be also mixed income, some home ownership, some home ownership preparation, and then some just plain rental housing. And so we wanted to see how they did that. Here's what it looks like. And, this is something we may want to think about for the future because it has been a tremendous boon to their community. We're also, of course, doing our fortified roof program. I met with them this morning. We will do a bare minimum of 100 roofs this year. The people need to own their own home and live in it as their primary residence. It needs to be site built. There can't be any trailers. They have to have homeowners insurance with high wind coverage. We'll do more than 100 roofs this year, and you can tell your constituents to apply at habitattuscaloosa.org. But we will probably I expect us to build 9 or 10 homes, new homes every year. So that means we will be out of property in the next 3.5 years or so. We already are looking at 3 different pieces of property, and 2 of those have infrastructure and 1 does not. And so we're hoping to really revitalize the West End community where we're working and where we're working alongside with the city of Tuscaloosa, especially with the Barnes Branch YMCA, with the McDonald Hughes Center, and then right down the street, the Fred campus is about to have a lot of renovations to it, and also to help our young people, many of whom are at risk, especially the young people in the alternative school, to hopefully put them on a better path and help them to become, good, productive citizens rather than other choices that they could make.
Questions for Ms. Potts?
Ellen, I was going to actually ask this in finance, but I've heard conflicting reports about the grant that y'all may have received from Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. I've heard one figure, I've heard several different figures. What did y'all receive?
We received $2.5 million.
$2.5 million? We
did not apply for it. I thought it was a hoax. And we can go into that on another day, but praise God that it was not. We have budgeted to use $500,000 of that to purchase new equipment and things like that. 250 of that 500 will go toward, we are going to tithe on community projects. The first of those is to completely renovate one of the Phoenix houses at no cost to the Phoenix house, and that'll be a $50,000 job that we're doing this fall. We also put aside basically $2 million of that for property purchase, infrastructure, things of that nature. And so that's how we're going to put up $500,000 toward this, and that's why we're asking for a community match. We need more property, and we need more property now so that 3 years from now we can just keep building and we won't have any kind of a hitch where we have money to build with and no property to build on.
That's great.
It's a blessing.
1.3 to 3.5, so it's probably right in the middle.
It was right in the middle, and we like I said, we did not request that. I'm very proud to say that we were one of I think 89 Habitat affiliates chosen across the country when there are more than 1,100. And that was part of a $436 million gift to Habitat International, $25 million to Habitat International, and then the rest to other Habitat affiliates. But we were the only Habitat affiliate chosen in Alabama or Mississippi. And a lot of that is because of the partnership that we've had with the city of Tuscaloosa. And the partnership that we've had with the Tuscaloosa City Schools and the Mercedes and Nick's kids. And, when people from the outside world start, because basically all Habitat International did was to send them raw data. And so then they had their own team who started looking at the things that we build, the partnerships that we have, the way we get along with the people in our community and work in partnership. And I do believe that that was a great deal of what helped us to get that grant, even though we didn't know that we ought to ask for it. So
I sure wish I knew his ex-wife.
I know. Yeah, exactly. She, it was an enormous surprise. Enormous surprise.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So I've got some, and Mayor, mine may be actually more appropriate for you or the staff because it's some, I was telling Ms. Potts, when this came up, I don't think we've done a neighborhood development since I've been on the council. I know I get pinged by people way out north towards the lake or other places. It's like, if you'll come put water and sewer in and build roads, we'll fill it up with houses. But I don't think we've done one since I've been on the council. And Ms. Potts, I'm assuming when you say infrastructure, we're talking water, sewer, roads, curbs?
Curb, gutter, lighting, electricity, and by the way, Alabama Power has committed to putting underground power for free in this neighborhood. So I'm excited
So,
for that.
Mayor, how do we normally, how does the city do, I don't know what we call it, neighborhood infrastructure? How do we do
We've
that?
done some in the past, different variations. Juanita Drive Phase 1 was one that we did with DR money.
That was the tornado.
Yeah, that's
Partnership, not only in terms of infrastructure, but also purchasing of lots. With CDBG money at times, with home funds, we've used money to either, in most cases, we provide it to the housing authority and then they put in the necessary infrastructure. A good example would be, I can't believe I forgot it, out in West Tuscaloosa. Springer property. Springer property would be another example of that.
And so take one of the, what do? We, the city, come in and build the water and sewer and the roads and the curbs?
We ultimately fund those things that be done.
so.
And the goal is to keep the cost of the development so low that you get a home buyer that invests into the property itself. This is the first time that I can recall that we've used, that we're recommending general fund dollars to go directly into it. Now, we did do a variation of this, but for different reasons, and Downing Place, I think, was the name of the apartment complex on 2nd Avenue in District 7, where we partnered with the developer to do about $330,000 worth of right-of-way improvements. I'm going off my memory, but that wasn't necessarily for first time or home buyer. They went for home buyer program. It was more for safety, to help clean up a crime area of the city. Those are the examples off the top of my head.
And do we have a way of getting a return on that investment of taxpayer money?
I don't think you make these investments because you think they're gonna reap a necessary direct tax benefit, but what I think you get, for example, Juanita Drive, it was 7.5% of the city's crime was in a quarter mile of it. Obviously April 27th created a tragic opportunity, and today we have very little crime issues. Downing Place is another example. It was an area of the city where we were having repeated crime problems. The partnership with, I think it was Whitworth Real Estate, I want to say, has made a real difference in that area. So you do get a benefit, but it's not necessarily a revenue benefit. It's more of a quality of life community benefit.
And I will also say all of these homeowners pay their property taxes through the escrow. And so they pay, somewhere in the neighborhood of, say, $700 a year in property taxes in perpetuity. And that increases over time. what we have seen in other areas of the city is that when you have a large influx of new habitat homes, the neighborhood, that helps raise the neighborhood and keep crime out. It stabilizes neighborhoods. It stabilizes families. We have, for instance, I'll just say 2 of our local trailer parks that they just recently got bought out, and the person who bought them out doubled the lot rent from $200 a month to $400 a month. That doesn't count the cost of, buying or renting your trailer. And that is going to knock some of those people out of home ownership or out of a place to live. These are people who are living on a very small budget. The rent in Tuscaloosa, the average rent is over $1,000 a month. Habitat home, the mortgage, including the escrow for the property taxes and insurance, is about $600 a month. And we sell that home for the appraised value to those homeowners. We do criminal background checks on every single adult in the household. We do sex offender status checks. We check their credit. We do home ownership preparation, both financial preparation and also home maintenance and repair classes, because we want these people to be successful homeowners. Now, in rare cases, we have people who are not, but you have that with anything.
Absolutely.
How do you select who gets the homes?
We go through a process. We actually just went through the beginning of that process. We have a homeownership a homeownership informational class that we did 4 times online and once in person. And people who are interested in becoming Habitat homeowners go through that class, and then if they're still interested at the end of the class, we give them an application. We give them 2 weeks to return that with their information on their income to see if they are the 80th percentile or below. If they look like they'll qualify based on income, we pull their credit, we pull their sex offender status, their criminal background, all of those things. And the people who look like they will qualify kind of, it gets selected out that way. And then we have a committee of community individuals, bankers, ministers, and others who vet these people and who visit them in their homes and then recommend to the board who they believe will be the best Habitat homeowners based on the number of homes that we have, the number of people we already have in the pipeline, and the amount of homes that we plan to build. It's usually a 12 to 18 month process from the time you're chosen until you get your Habitat home. You have to do 250 hours worth of sweat equity, volunteer hours on your own Habitat house and other people's Habitat homes. During that time, if there are 2 or more adults, it's in the household, it's 350 hours.
Yes, ma'am. And how many are on the committee?
I believe there are about 10 on the committee, and then we have a board of 15.
They choose from the pre-vetted applicants.
Yes.
And they make a recommendation to your board, and your board approves it.
Yes.
And this ask is for 26 homes?
Maybe 25.
25 to 20, yes, exactly.
And you described the buildup of equity, which is impressive. But once that first user, if I move in and the appraised value is $90,000 and I stay in it, there's a time, 5 years?
For the first 15 years, for the first 15 years, we have first right of refusal to buy that back at whatever we sold it to the person at. So let's say the person next door wanted to move out within 15 years. They owe $60,000 on the house. We would buy it back for $90,000. They would keep $30,000 worth of equity, and then we would take that house back and put another Habitat homeowner in it.
You lost
now.
me.
Okay.
So I buy it at $90,000.
Right.
I live there 5 years and 1 week.
Okay.
I want to sell my house. I sell it in the market, right?
We have right of first refusal.
Have you ever exercised that right?
We have, but lately, the only people who have wanted to move out are people who needed to move out for a good reason. For instance, we had.
I get a job
Yes,
somewhere
we get a
else.
job someplace
I'm
else.
gonna
We have
move.
somebody
I
who
wanna
got
sell
married
my
and ended up
house.
with more kids in the
Do I
home
get to
and
sell
not
it
big
in the
enough house
market?
yet. Yes,
I
yes,
do?
we
So once
can
I
allow
sell it
that.
in the market, that property is then out of the supply of moderately it's market priced at that point. It's not.
But we sold it at market
They have the
price.
right to buy it back at the 90,000
Yeah.
for 15 years.
Yes.
The market value, I guess, and then you
If-
turn, I mean.
But what
and
I'm
they'll-
asking is,
they'll-
do you exercise that right of refusal?
We have not, but it's only been, I believe, in 2 cases. So, you know what I'm saying, and those were unique circumstances, because of, particular, it wasn't because they wanted to flip
So you let them take the
it.
equity over and above
We
that,
did.
what you could have done.
So
We did.
that's what I'm trying to understand is if the benefit to the city, because this is taxpayer money, is the supply of affordable housing, and the houses are gorgeous.
Thank
By
you.
the way.
Come
You might have to
volunteer
get an
with us.
old man living single in one. Do you have any? Oh, no.
Yeah,
If-
sure.
If the prize is affordable housing, and that is a unquestioned need throughout the city and the county, I would think. The problem is they can't build them at prices that allow them to still be affordable when they're built, right? They being your typical commercial builders.
So,
Well, I don't,
okay.
is that right, though?
So that is correct, but let me give you some background information. So,
Just hold it, we'll come
Okay.
back to it, I promise you.
uh-huh,
But if affordable housing is the prize, and the reason that private builders can't do it is by the time they built it, the cost means it's not really affordable to a lot of people's definitions. And a project like this addresses that, but what I'm trying to understand is, once there is a turnover in that 25 or 26 homes, that house then it's a market priced house, whatever the market is, right?
yes, and I believe out of 142 homes that we've built, I know of 4 that we've sold at market. Have
That we sold it.
or that,
Have the
excuse me,
owners
that
sold
the
them?
2 actually that the owners have sold. 2 out of 147 that I know of. Now, I only know about the ones from 2013 forward. But so the others were foreclosure houses that we got outbid on the courthouse steps, and that has been 4 homes since I've been executive director since 2013. I will say that try to find a home for 182.5. That's still affordable. I mean, that's very
I would
much
agree that
below.
it's affordable, and I
Yeah.
would agree, I probably couldn't find one.
Yeah, and so I will say that our houses, our 3-bedroom, 2-bath Habitat houses, are appraising right now at 148, more or less, and that's what we sell them for. We sell them for the appraised value. Now, we all know that sometimes market value, market is what it is, and appraised value is what it is, and they're separate things. But our home, like I said, I think we've had maybe two families since I've been executive director that have wanted to sell their Habitat home. And that was because of unique circumstances. Both of them had a major increase in income because they got married and they became a 2-income family. And in both cases, they graduated from college. They had a skill that they didn't have before, and so their income increased, their family size increased, and they needed more room. They had other reasons. It wasn't to flip the house for the equity, which we would not allow. And we know our homeowners. You know, I can quote chapter and verse on homeowners. You name me a homeowner, I can tell you their story. We keep up with them. We help them in difficult times. And so we know, you know, we would know who's trying to flip it for equity and who's not.
Mr. Wilson, do you have questions?
No, sir.
And the $2 million you set aside for infrastructure out of the, was it the B?
$2.5 million, yes.
$2.5 million grant, but you said $2 million was earmarked for infrastructure.
For infrastructure and property purchase.
Property purchase.
Yes, and what we want to do, we don't want to use that for regular operations. We want to use that for something that will set us up for success for the long term. When I first started talking about this, you know, we didn't have this grant. So, you know, now we would like to be equal partners with the city and the county. $500,000 from us, $500,000 from each of the municipality and the county, and to see if we can move this project forward, and then, you know, that will leave us additional funds to spend on future projects. Like I said, I'm already looking at 3 pieces of property that are in districts 1 and 2, so that we can continue to do Operation Transformation and help train young people for the construction trades.
Mr. Chairman.
Ellen, do you think that you'll have an answer back of what the county would do by the end of the month, or in the next couple of weeks, or do you know that yet?
I don't know. You know, I can't predict.
I get that.
Yeah.
Just being, Mr. Chair, forward thinking, what happens if you run out of lots, but yet you have the money to build the houses? What happens then? Let's say, for instance,
my board fires me.
Right. So, like, for instance, you talked about the $2.5 million that you have, that you awarded, and your ask is 5 from the city, county, and that you all have put up 500. What happens if there's no more places to build?
I have an offer on the table right now for 38 lots, and I could go buy those. You know, I have 2 more opportunities, and so that's what we're looking at. I think affordable housing has been one of the primary goals for the city in every single plan that you've had since I've been in this position.
Yes, ma'am.
And the lack of affordable housing, when you have people from Mercedes and wherever else, you know, they bring them in and they put them up for 6 months or however many months until they can find affordable housing or find housing, and then, you know, you find your own housing. But often and I think if Barkley from the chamber were still here, he would say, we have people who are moving back to wherever they came from because there is no affordable housing, or they're moving to Birmingham.
Or McCall.
You know, they're moving to McCalla, they're moving to Hoover. You know, and we want them to stay right here in Tuscaloosa.
But if they're coming, aren't they excluded by income?
So some of these people may be, some of these people may not. You know, if you're working on the line at Mercedes, you are. If you're working, say, as in the janitorial staff, if you're working, you know, if you've come here from someplace else, we're recruiting, you know, from all over the region, all over the area. And some people are excluded because of income, some people are not. But there is tremendous need. And you can't run that plant without housing for the people who are at Walmart, or housing for the people who are cleaning the Mercedes plant, or housing for, you know, people who are, you know, I'm thinking about janitors in our school systems. We've got, you know, people who are working at the university. We've got all kinds of people who are in desperate need of affordable housing, and we do not have it in our community.
Ms. Potts, I appreciate you being here today, I mean, and sharing the information with us. I would ask the committee members if, are there any other questions that she has not addressed? And, I would like personally, and I really think, I am fine with us voting on this today. I would ask for a motion to do that, but I would like to ask as a member of finance that we kind of know what's going on with the county and everything else before we vote to fund this. I mean, that would be my preference. I think that she's answered the infrastructure questions for this committee very well.
I will say that if the county doesn't fund it, we have to find, and you know, whether we fund it ourselves or whether we get a loan or whatever, we've got to fund it because otherwise we're out of lots.
Okay.
And so it will be funded from some source.
Do we have any other questions before I would call for the vote? Entertain a motion to approve?
To move it to finance.
Yeah, well, just move it out of committee. It's going back to finance. It's going to finance.
My understanding was if it was approved as a project here, then it would go to finance to see about finance.
Me too, but it's already on, it's in old business on finance, but I think we should approve it. So I will make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed?
No?
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I'll stay around for finance.
Okay, thank you.
Pack a lunch.
Well, it is hard to believe that there is nothing else on the agenda. So with that, our next Public Projects Committee meeting will be next Tuesday, October 18th. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
And the bad news is
Aye.
finance is